Grand Teton National Park is a place of breathtaking beauty, but danger lurks even in the most beautiful places. Join us as we explore 5 of the most tragic deaths to occur within the park's rugged wilderness. From deadly climbs to fatal falls, these stories are haunting reminders of the risks that come with adventure in the Tetons. On July 20th, 2023, Braden Dury, an experienced climber, was leading a rope team that included his 16-year-old son Caleb and his brother-in-law Zach Smith. The trio were climbing the popular Owen Spalding route, located in Wyoming's Grand Teton. The climb was meant to be a bonding experience, a milestone in introducing Caleb to the world of mountaineering. Instead, it ended in tragedy. Braden was 40 years old, born in Logan, Utah, and living in Kuna, Idaho. He was a rock climber, mountaineer, ultra-runner, and beekeeper. But more than anything, he was a devoted husband and father of 4. He poured his energy into his family, his church, and his community. Braden was known for his generosity and integrity. Friends described him as someone who did what was right, even when no one was watching. He built a family farm where he raised chickens, sheep, and bees. He maintained a large garden and gave much of the harvest away to neighbors. He helped people without being asked, like the time he quietly took down a friend's Christmas lights when the friend was overwhelmed. That kind of selfless act was typical for Braden. Professionally, he was accomplished and respected. He worked as a geotechnical engineer at Geo Engineers and became the youngest person to ever be made a partner. His colleagues saw him as one of the best in his field. He was also known for urging others to walk rather than drive, even if the walk was a half-mile or more. His mental toughness was evident in his athletic pursuits. He completed ultramarathons, ran rim to rim across the Grand Canyon, and climbed major peaks like Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, and Forbidden Peak. Just weeks before the Owen Spalding climb, he and Zach had completed that Grand Canyon traverse together. The climb on July 20th began as any other. The team made their way up the Owen Spalding route under clear skies, but the Teton Range had received more snow than usual that winter, and lingering ice was still clinging to sections of the rock. As Braden led the Owen Chimney Pitch, it is possible that he encountered a patch of verglas, thin, slick ice formed by overnight freeze-thaw cycles, and slipped. Though roped in and wearing a helmet, Braden's protection failed. A piece of gear pulled from the rock and he fell between 40 and 50 feet. The fall caused fatal head trauma. Despite the immediate efforts of Zach and Caleb, there was nothing they could do. Rangers and rescue teams responded quickly, airlifting Zach and Caleb to safety and later recovering Braden's body. The news stunned everyone who knew him. The tragedy was almost impossible to bear. In the days that followed, friends and family began to mourn. They remembered his energy, his kindness, and his determination. His son Caleb spoke of watching his dad tend the beehives, while friends remembered him for his encouragement and ability to make others feel capable. A GoFundMe page was created to help support his wife Jessica and their children, who were left grieving and suddenly without their provider. Braden Dury lived a life defined by purpose and love. He created special handshakes with each of his children. He played board games and encouraged their music and sports. He danced off-key in the kitchen and dressed up as a clown for family reunions. Everything he did was shaped by his deep desire to share life with those he loved. His death left a painful void, but those who knew him carry forward the memory of a man who gave everything he had to his family, his work, and his community. On January 4th, 2025, Kenneth "Kenny" Goff, a well-loved outdoorsman and emergency nurse, was ski touring with friends near the Breccia Cliffs in the Bridger Teton National Forest. Despite his extensive backcountry experience and skill, nothing could prevent the tragedy that would strike that day on the slope. Raised in Bell Acres, Pennsylvania, Kenny's early love for nature and adventure deepened at Indiana University, where he studied business and minored in outdoor recreation. That minor proved pivotal. It led to years of wilderness exploration and eventually a full commitment to guiding and outdoor education. After graduating in 2011, Kenny began leading mountaineering and climbing trips across the United States and abroad, including challenging routes in Alaska, Greece, and Peru. He worked with respected organizations such as Mojave Guides, SWS Mountain Guides, Wind River Climbing Guides, and eventually the National Outdoor Leadership School, where he became a valued instructor in 2017. His professional path blended rugged expertise with a uniquely compassionate teaching style. Kenny settled in Lander, Wyoming, where he met his fiancée, Sydney Hartsock, also a National Outdoor Leadership School instructor. Their bond was strong, rooted in mutual respect, shared expeditions, and a love of community. Together, they built a life in the shadow of the Wind River Range, filled with climbing, travel, game nights, and future plans. In recent years, Kenny expanded his capacity to help others by becoming a registered nurse. He completed his degree in 2023 and worked as a nurse at Sage West Healthcare in Lander and Riverton, all while continuing to volunteer with Lander Search and Rescue. On January 4th, Kenny was on a backcountry ski tour with 3 friends in Togwotee Pass, about 20 miles east of Grand Teton National Park. The group was ascending a slope near 10,400 feet when a large slab avalanche released above them. According to the Bridger Teton Avalanche Center, the skiers were on a 26-degree slope, typically considered safer for ski travel. But the snowpack was deceptively unstable. A buried weak layer, described as sugary and rotten, failed beneath a wind-loaded surface, unleashing a slide roughly 400 feet wide and up to 4 feet deep in places. Kenny was fully buried under an estimated 12 feet of snow. Another skier was partially buried and suffered a leg injury. The rescue operation was hampered by poor weather. Teton County Search and Rescue received a satellite emergency alert just before noon. Storm conditions grounded the rescue helicopter and stopped snowmobiles from reaching the scene. Volunteers on skis finally arrived at 3:47 p.m. They treated the injured skier and helped the uninjured members of the group, but Kenny could not be saved. His body was recovered and transported by sled from the backcountry late that evening. News of Kenny's death reverberated through the outdoor and medical communities. Colleagues described him as calm, positive, and generous, someone who encouraged others to grow while quietly excelling in his own pursuits. Friends noted his cautious approach to risk, which made the loss all the more heartbreaking. It was the first avalanche fatality in Wyoming that winter, and the 5th nationwide. In the weeks since, tributes have poured in from across the country. Kenny's life would be celebrated in Jackson, Joshua Tree, Lander, and Bell Acres later in 2025. Donations in his memory were directed to Lander Search and Rescue. For those who knew him, Kenny's legacy lives on in the countless lives he touched through the mountains he climbed, the patients he cared for, and the joy he brought to every trail, summit, and shared moment. In the summer of 2021, a young couple set out on a cross-country van life journey meant to capture the beauty of America and the joy of life on the road. What followed would become one of the most closely watched cases in recent memory, capturing national attention and sparking widespread debate over domestic violence, social media, and justice. Behind the curated posts and scenic backdrops, a darker reality was unfolding, one that would end with the violent death of 22-year-old Gabrielle Petito. Gabby Petito was born on March 19, 1999, and raised in Blue Point, New York. The oldest of several siblings, she was known for her bright personality and creative spirit. As a teenager, she appeared in a music video raising awareness about gun violence following the Sandy Hook tragedy. After graduating from Bayport Blue Point High School in 2017, she spent time living and working in North Carolina before returning to the East Coast. Gabby met Brian Laundrie in high school, and their relationship became serious in early 2019. She later moved into his family home in Northport, Florida, and the couple worked together at a local grocery store. In 2020, they traveled across the country together, visiting iconic sites such as Yosemite and Las Vegas. The two became engaged and began planning another trip, this time documenting it for their growing social media following. Gabby purchased a white Ford Transit van and converted it into a camper. To fund the journey, she worked long hours at Taco Bell and took other jobs, while Brian found employment at a juice bar. Their shared love of travel, art, and nature shaped their vision of a nomadic life. On July 2, 2021, they departed from New York in their van for a 4-month journey. The couple visited multiple national parks and scenic landmarks throughout the West. However, beneath the surface of their smiling photos, tensions were rising. On August 12th, a 911 call reported a physical altercation between the two in Moab, Utah. Witnesses said Brian struck Gabby and attempted to take her phone. Police separated them for the night, but no charges were filed. Gabby described the incident as a mental breakdown rather than abuse, and they continued their trip together the following day. Brian returned to Florida alone on August 17th, temporarily leaving Gabby in Salt Lake City. According to his family's lawyer, he went home to close a storage unit and gather supplies. He rejoined Gabby on August 23rd, and the couple resumed their travels. On August 25th, Gabby's mother had her final phone call with her daughter, who said they were heading to Grand Teton in Yellowstone. That same day, Gabby posted what would become her final Instagram photo, posing in front of a butterfly mural in Ogden, Utah. On August 27th, multiple witnesses spotted the couple at a restaurant in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Brian was reportedly aggressive and argumentative, while Gabby appeared distressed. Later that day, their van was seen near the Spread Creek dispersed camping area. Around the same time, Gabby's mother received a text message from her phone that raised immediate suspicion, referring to her grandfather as Stan, something Gabby had never done. The next day, witnesses reported seeing Brian hitchhiking alone in the area, acting strangely. He offered large amounts of money for short rides and appeared unusually clean for someone claiming to have camped for days. On September 1st, Brian returned to his parents' home in Florida in the van without Gabby. He refused to cooperate with authorities or Gabby's family. On September 11th, Gabby was reported missing. 4 days later, Brian was named a person of interest, but he had already vanished. His parents told police they hadn't seen him since September 13th. Meanwhile, investigators obtained search warrants and began combing through evidence. On September 19th, Gabby's remains were discovered near the Spread Creek site. The autopsy confirmed her death was the result of blunt force trauma to the head and neck, along with manual strangulation. Her death was estimated to have occurred 3 to 4 weeks prior. On September 23rd, a federal warrant was issued for Brian's arrest, not for murder, but for unauthorized use of Gabby's debit card in the days after her death. The search for Brian continued for weeks. On October 20th, his skeletal remains were found in the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park near his family home. His identity was confirmed through dental records. Nearby, investigators found personal belongings, including a notebook that would later prove critical to the case. In January 2022, the Federal Bureau of Investigation announced that Brian had written a confession in the notebook, admitting responsibility for Gabby's death and admitting to sending deceptive text messages from her phone. With this discovery, the Federal Bureau of Investigation formally closed its investigation, stating that Brian was solely responsible. The case ignited ongoing national conversations about domestic violence, the power of social media, and the complexities of intimate partner relationships. Gabby's story became a symbol, a young woman whose life and voice, though tragically silenced, continues to spark awareness and calls for change. It was the morning of Friday, August 11th, 2023, and Joy Cho was on a hike in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park. Joy was exploring Teton Mountain, an exposed and demanding peak in the Teton Range, when the unimaginable happened, leaving a tight-knit faith community in mourning. At 47 years old, Joy Cho was a resident of Simi Valley, California, and a respected leader in the faith-based organization Eastward Missions, where she served as vice president for its youth ministry in Australia. A graduate of Pacific Union College, she had committed her life to service through various ministries. Her work included contributions to Madison Missions and the Maker Heals, both self-supporting programs aligned with Eastward Missions. She also volunteered with Helping Hands Ministry, an organization devoted to supporting lepers in China. Her life reflected a powerful commitment to her beliefs, her community, and the natural world. Friends described her as joyful, kind, and constantly giving of herself to others. In August 2023, Joy was several weeks into a United States road trip with Eastward Missions. The group had recently attended the Adventist Layman Services and Industries Convention in Kansas City and had successfully summited Mount Whitney in California, the tallest peak in the contiguous United States. A photo shared to social media showed Joy smiling at the summit with 7 companions, evidence of both her love of nature and her adventurous spirit. The group's journey led them to Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park, where Joy joined 7 others in an early morning ascent of Teton Mountain. Known for its dramatic elevation of 12,325 feet, Teton is not a casual hike. Trail information describes the route as a third-class scramble, steep and exposed, with sections where rope may be necessary in some condition. As the group made their way up the mountain's western side before dawn, tragedy struck. A rock ledge that Joy was holding onto gave way. She fell and sustained severe injuries, and despite the efforts of those present, she was pronounced dead at the scene. Rangers later confirmed that Joy had died from significant injuries sustained in the fall. Her body was recovered using a short-haul technique, suspended beneath a helicopter and transported to the Teton County Coroner's Office. The 7 surviving members of her hiking group were airlifted to safety and brought back to their vehicles at the trailhead. In the wake of her death, tributes poured in. Eastward Mission shared the news with deep sorrow, describing Joy as a beloved leader, colleague, and friend who would be dearly missed. A friend, Tim Hopkins, shared his heartbreak in a public post, calling Joy the most joyful person he knew and affirming that she did not suffer and passed away almost instantly. Grand Teton National Park employees also extended their condolences to her family and loved ones. Joy Cho's legacy endures in the lives she touched and the mission she carried forward. Her life was marked by service, faith, and courage, and her sudden loss is deeply felt by all who knew her. On February 13, 2022, Radcliffe Lyon Spencer, a well-known and deeply respected skier, suffered a shocking accident in the highly technical Apocalypse Couloir on Prospectors Mountain. Radcliffe, known affectionately as Rad, was born on May 1, 1994 in Baltimore, Maryland, and raised in Atlanta. From a young age, Rad's warmth and integrity were evident. He won the Citizenship Award in 6th grade at Westminster, foreshadowing the kind of man he would become. He graduated from the Westminster Schools in 2013, where he played on the state championship lacrosse team. At the University of Georgia, he became a respected leader through his involvement with Chi Phi Fraternity, the Interfraternity Council, and UGA Heroes, a group supporting children impacted by acquired immune deficiency syndrome. After graduating from the Terry College of Business, Rad spent time at the C. Lazy U Ranch in Colorado before beginning a successful real estate career in Jackson. He eventually co-founded Neville Asbell Spencer, a residential real estate firm, in 2021. Jackson became home to Rad. The mountains were his sanctuary, and he approached them with both joy and respect. He took avalanche safety courses, embraced technical climbing, and became a skilled and thoughtful backcountry skier. He also served as a mentor and assistant lacrosse coach at Jackson Hole High School and was an organizing member of Fresh Life Church. His personality radiated warmth. On the morning of February 13th, Rad was attempting to ski the Apocalypse Couloir, a steep, narrow gully considered one of the park's most technical routes. Conditions were generally stable and avalanche danger was low. He was accompanied by 4 others. After what appeared to be a solid start, Rad lost control and fell. A climber in Death Canyon witnessed the incident and immediately contacted authorities, reporting that the skier appeared unresponsive. Teton County Search and Rescue responded swiftly. Rad was found in the couloir with critical injuries. Despite efforts to resuscitate him, he was declared dead at the scene. His body was airlifted from the mountain, along with the other members of his party, who were evacuated by helicopter. The National Park Service later stated that the fall was not avalanche-related and emphasized the dangers that remain in technical terrain, even in otherwise stable conditions. The aftermath of Rad's death was felt deeply. The communities of Atlanta and Jackson mourned a man whose life had been defined by compassion, joy, and an unyielding love for the outdoors. Rad's Instagram account became a digital archive of adventure and lighthearted moments, a testament to a life lived fully. In Jackson, his lacrosse team honored him with a bonfire. Rad died in the mountains he loved, in a place where he said he felt closest to God.